Tifa for Senate. Welcome back to Bizarre Podcast Dogs Must Die. My name is Grant. You can call him Chip. And as promised, we are joined by a guest. Please introduce yourself as you would like to be introduced.
Hi, my name is Emily, also known as Lady Emily on the internet, from the channel Lady Emily. But when I'm not doing that, I'm also co-writer Emily on the channel Sarah's Ad, which does video essays and online media stuff. And I'm here to talk about JoJo.
All right. I'm glad, because otherwise I don't know what we do with you. I mean, probably have a lot of fun talking about other things, but that is on the agenda for today.
This isn't an Elden Ring podcast?
I mean, I can make it. I can do an Elden Ring podcast. I can do that.
First, I want to ask about, your JoJo journey, what brings you here, how you came to find us. But I also have to note, this means I have to track down a third person named Emily to talk about part 6 when we get there, and that's a lot of pressure. It's tradition.
Oh, look, you can find Emily's. There's like a dime a dozen. Like, every trans girl's named Emily, so you can just like throw a rock, you'll find one. I believe in
Maybe my cousin is really into JoJo's, and that would be surprising. Her kids love me. It's fine. So back to that question I stopped myself from asking. Emily, how did you find your way into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Good question. So my introduction to JoJo was actually when I was like 11 or 12 and playing an imported copy of Jump Superstars for the DS, which I thought was the coolest game in the world, because it was like, oh, hey, here's Goku, here's One Piece, here's Naruto. And there was like Jotaro in there, and I think Dio was also in there, and I just saw them and I was like, this looks weird. I'm not going to get into this. Ever. And then, like...
These men are so big. I like Naruto, a very small man.
Well, I think it was because it was like, I associated the character design so much with Bobobo, which was a show I remembered not liking as a kid. So I was like, this looks like that same energy. I don't like it. Get it away from me. But then, like, around 7 or 8 years later, I was in college, and I had one of my friends was really into JoJo, and he kept trying to get me to get into it. And I was part of Metal Gear shitpost subreddit thing that we took over, and everyone was talking about JoJo all the time, and they were pressuring me to get into JoJo. So I finally succumbed to peer pressure, as you're supposed to do, and started watching JoJo. And I watched part 1 and part 2 over the course of like 6 months, because it was subtitled and really hard to do, and I was also in college. And it just took me a while to get into it. By the time I got to part 2, I was like, I really like this. I'm going to continue with part 3. And then it took me a year to get through part 3, because I was still using Crunchyroll, still using the subtitled version. And then from that point, like, by the time I got to the end of part 3, I was like, okay, I'm a dedicated JoJo fan. I like this. But then I fully transitioned from being an anime watcher to being a manga reader, because I was like, I want to get through this as quickly as possible and read the stuff. Because, like, I think at that point, part 4 had just finished, or was getting close to finishing its anime version. And I was like, I don't want to wait. I binged read part 4, 5, 6, and 7 within the span of like 2 or 3 weeks. And
oh boy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. This was actually my first experience watching the anime version of part 5. Because I had seen, like, I think an episode of it when it came out, just to be like, oh, let me compare it. And then I was like, well, it's part 5. So I know that it's part 5. And so then I was like, it's been a while. It's been a few years. I've grown a lot since then, because that was back in like 2017, 2018. It's like, when I got invited to do the thing, I was like, let's go back and let's watch part 5 again, like the first 13 episodes, just to see how I feel about it and compare my manga reader brain to the anime version, the dub version specifically, because I don't really watch the JoJo dub, so I was very curious. Yeah, so that's my JoJo history. That's how I got here at this point.
So you finally had your first experience with the torture dance party.
Yeah, I had seen GIFs of it.
Okay, yeah.
And I obviously saw it in the manga, but it didn't really do it justice. And also, it's been a few years, so it still caught me very much off guard when it happened.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Metal Gear Solid because, hey, brand cohesion. But I feel like sometimes that this show is something very, very much like our Metal Gear Solid Let's Plays, where we're talking about a product that is so associated with one person's vision, one person's idiosyncrasies, but it is brought to us through the work of many, many people that do not get nearly as much recognition. Like, look at the credits of any Metal Gear Solid game. Look at the fact that we're watching an anime, we're not reading the manga, at least not primarily.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah, it's fascinating because it's something I think a lot about. Is, well, like with Metal Gear Solid, you know, there was the stuff with like the translators and localizers for like Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, all that other stuff. And like another thing that makes Part 5 interesting is that it is, you know, obviously like Iraqi stuff, you know, as you're saying, it's very much the visionary of one guy. The thing that makes Part 5 interesting to me is that it was, for the longest time, just like not really translated well here. It didn't have an official translation, and the one that existed for the longest time was just not great. When I was reading Part 5, it was like not like the Colored Adventure team that was like doing the whole colored version retranslation had only done part of it. So it's like I had to experience part of it with like pretty okay quality translation, like pretty good translation. And then the other part was like the very stiff, very old translation. And so that probably attributed to mine, and I'm sure a bunch of other people's, when we experienced Part 5 being like, yeah, this feels pretty mid. This is like, I'm not vibing with this. I'm very confused. Because now I'm at the point where I do vibe with it, and I'm still confused, but I vibe with it.
Yeah. Like my experience with Part 5, I've never read anything past Part 4. Everything else has just been, you know, watching the adaptation. And I watched Part 5 week by week as it was happening because I was caught up to that point. But going through it for the second time now with the dub, I'm already liking it a lot more just because I feel like the dub's localization is definitely better than Crunchyroll subtitles were when it was coming out live. It wasn't like they were bad, but they definitely felt a lot more stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's why every time we talk about it, you just kind of say it wasn't great, and there are no fun examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no Duang, apparently. Nobody can tell me what was so bad about it other than it just kind of was.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that it's not like Duang where there's like, oh, here's this funny quote, here's this funny quote. It was more of like the kind of stereotypical fan translation thing of just like, we are going to translate the words exactly as they are written on this page. So help us all. And so it's just like very stiff, very kind of generic, very just very plain. And that's unfortunate because Part 5 has the main cast that's probably the most eccentric out of all the JoJo's we've seen so far, and also has the most complicated stands. These stands are so complicated, and like a large portion of both the manga and the anime are just people standing around trying to explain what these stands even do to each other.
Mostly snakes,
and that was like,
I find. It's a lot of snakes.
It's a lot of snakes happening.
A lot of snakes.
But yeah, Part 5, especially like with that really the significantly worse fan translation of the Part 5 manga, was notorious for making some of the more complicated stands that pop up later in Part 5 extremely difficult to understand how they worked. And they're still, when localized well, confusing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think more so than other JoJo parts, this was the one that I found myself like the most either asking people around me or just consulting the wiki and being like, okay, so how exactly does the boat thing work? How is this? What is this? I'm getting so confused. There's so much going on.
yeah.
I suppose up to this point, because I'm a good boy, I'm not a cheater, I haven't been going ahead, the boat is the most complicated thing. The boat and the brick snake, I guess, are the most complicated, hard to understand things.
I love the brick snake. It's so fucking dumb. It's so stupid. It's so just... It's kind of incredible, and it's something that only JoJo, I think, could get away with. Of just like, I made this thing into a snake, and it was born in the poison, so now it can give me an antidote if it bites me.
I feel like it's looping back around to stuff I pointed out back in Part 1, where the way Hamon works kind of changes episode by episode in like almost like a Silver Age Superman style way, where he's just constantly like, check out this issue to see his super weaving powers or whatever.
Yeah.
And like with Golden Experience especially, it's just like, what can Golden Experience do today? Let's find out together.
Yeah.
This time it's a brick snake.
Well, that's the thing of like this one just having the weirdest stands where it's like, you know, just compare the main, like, JoJo's abilities here versus all the previous ones, right? Where it's like, okay, Jotaro, pretty simple, right? Like, punch is good. Got it.
Supernaturally
Then you get to part 4.
precise.
Yeah. It's like,
Which is a thing
Part
pretty
4.
much every stand is, actually. I've never seen a clumsy stand.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Aerosmith is not clumsy, but it is very chaotic in that you can't you have to just basically do an explosion.
It did shoot tiny bullets inside bullet holes.
Yeah.
That's pretty precise.
It's imprecise by JoJo standards. But, like, yeah, Josuke's stuff is like, okay, this one punches really good, but it also fixes things. You're like, okay, that has a lot of flexibility as a term, but sure. And then you get to Giorno's, which is just like, it deals with life. You can figure that out. That can mean anything.
Yeah.
What? Okay, now that we've seen Giorno for 13 whole episodes, I don't get where the reflection part comes from. If you hit the frog with a shovel, suddenly you have the wound as if you were hit by a shovel. How is that related to anything? And also, it was so important in the beginning, but it has not really been a thing since.
Going on, you may notice that maybe that doesn't happen much anymore.
No, that frog, I was wondering that too, and I kept being like, well, I'm sure there's an explanation for it. And it was like, I went and I reread the manga, I was like, nope, there's not there, and I read the wiki. That didn't really help either, so I'm just like, okay, you hit the frog and it hits you, sure, cool.
Yeah, like the damage reflection thing, I feel like it does come up again, but not very often. It's been a while since I saw the later parts of Part 5. But when you think about it, it's like, man, that would just be... If you could make a little frog that just kills you if you kill it instead, like, that's the most powerful stand ever. Just make frogs out of everything.
And that's how we save the rainforest. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Giorno could, like, dramatically change the course of the entire planet Earth if he wanted to. Giorno could change the course of human history if he wanted to. He has the power to do whatever he wants. He's not going to do it. He's just going to be like a gangster. He's just going to lead the mafia.
I feel like he should really team up with Josuke, who also has a stand that, if you really take it to its limits, could just reform the world for the better.
Yeah.
And just fix all the problems, man.
He could fix all the problems, but, you know, he has higher ambitions and higher goals, and who are we to say no?
Crime is good, but drugs aren't. So let's get rid of that specific type of crime, please.
Yeah. I don't know if this makes sense, but Part 5 feels like the most One Piece of all of JoJo, because it has that same vibe of, like, yes, I want to be king of the pirates, but not like a bad pirate. Like, I have a pirate code.
Right,
I'm better
right.
than the other bad pirates.
We like
Yeah,
the independence, the camaraderie, the adventuresome anarchy of crime, but not the part, not like the victimful crimes. We don't like that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then both are very much like, look, yeah, pirates aren't great. Being a gangster isn't great. But also, like, the Navy, the police kind of suck here.
They're definitely worse. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That was something I definitely noticed this time a lot, because the anime does a lot more of the flashbacks towards everyone's, like, origin than the manga does. Because the manga still has it, but it's distributed a lot differently, and it's, like, a lot shorter, and obviously it's, like, the difference between seeing something and, like, just reading it. It's where it's, like, a lot of these boys, their origin is based on, like, some form of institutional failure.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fascinating.
Like, what do we got? We saw child predation in the academy.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Corrupt and ineffective policing. Mista just can't get shot, and so that's good for him. A little bit of an outlier. But yeah, it really is a running theme.
I don't know what it's saying, but it's saying something, I guess. I mean, this is one of those where it's really about the bond between the boys, right?
I guess the system that failed Narancia, I guess, is the family.
The family and just friendship and just getting betrayed because he dyed his hair blonde and has an eye infection. It's really funny because it's like, I like Narancia a lot, but, like, his backstory is very funny when you compare it to, like, Fugo, who was, you know, assaulted and then, like, a Baccio who is like corrupt cop, and then it's just like, yeah, I dyed my hair blonde and got framed for a crime, and then everyone at school made fun of me and didn't want to be friends anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Narancia is the youngest. He hasn't had the time.
Yeah.
Which isn't true, but more on that later.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was one thing that threw me off. Because I mean, JoJo's always weird when it comes to ages, right? Like you see Jotaro, and it's like that's not a 17-year-old at all. But I was legit shocked when Giorno's like, "Yeah, I'm Giorno Giovanni. I'm 15 years old."
6'5", built as hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
As far as the flashbacks go, like, yeah, I'm enjoying their content. I think that, like, these characters and seeing their past does make them stronger, but I am drowning in flashbacks. Like, so many of these fights might just fit in one episode if it weren't for the flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's like Araki finally learned how to place a flashback in a place where it's, like, necessary, but doesn't immediately flag, this guy's about to die right now.
Yeah.
But he didn't learn restraint yet, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing that I remembered a lot about Part 5 is that it is, next to Part 3, the most Monster of the Week feeling JoJo part. Because it is just like, and then we run into this stand user, and then we run into this stand user, and then we run into this assassin, and then we run into this assassin. It was one of the reasons why it was hard for me to get into Part 5 as much as the others, like, you know, Part 4 and Part 6 and 7. But it's also something that's really interesting about the anime versus manga, because it's like in the manga, if you have like a stand fight and it's like dragging or it's going on for like too long or you're not really all that interested, you can just start reading quickly. Like you can just start skimming and going through it. To where it's like with this, it's like, okay, I'm not really feeling this. I'm stuck here for like 2 episodes.
I mean, that brings up something we mentioned at the tail end of our last episode, like the idea that Part 5 is Part 3 by the author of Part 4. Like, reapplying those lessons to a format where, we have this crew rolling up into a new location every week where someone is waiting to kill them, and then they have a fight to the death. And so that we can all get to the one big guy at the end that we're trying to kill, but we don't know where he is or what he can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it very much feels like, because Part 4 definitely felt like a transition between, like, the first part of JoJo and then, like, what JoJo is going to become, right? To where it's, like, the character designs get a lot different as it goes on, especially in the manga. You know, it just becomes more serialized, and it becomes... just the vibe is different. It's hard to explain in words, but the vibe is different. And so Part 5 is sort of... yeah, it is Part 3 again. Just, like, the boys are prettier. They have more time to just kind of, like... They already know each other, so they just kind of have this bond, and then it's like... This is just what we're playing with. These are our toys right now. And whether or not it works, I'm still not entirely sure yet.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Bruno's boys could really use an Iggy or an Anne, just a little somebody to just fuck with everybody. I guess that's Narancia, actually. I guess they have one.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, it could also be like Trish, because they're about to do an escort mission. But I mean, we haven't seen that, whether or not that's the case yet. But yeah, there are. I do feel like I think there needs to be like something to shake it up, or just some like through line in here. I think that the thing with the structure is that the first few episodes, the first half of this, when it was just the setup, I was really, really enjoying it. I was like, oh my gosh, is Part 5 better than I remember it being? Like, oh, the Bruno fight, the Luca scene, like all of the setup, the stuff with Koichi. It's like, this is really good. And then when we did start getting back into the, here are the boys, here's the Monster of the Week format, I was like, okay, now I'm remembering why I wasn't super hot on Part 5 the first time I read it.
I mean, with the way the parts... like format really seems to reinvent the whole story every time. It feels like a regression. Like if you watched 1, 2, 4, 5, if you skip Stardust Crusaders, aside from not having a lot of reference for, you know, Jotaro and old Joseph, you might think that Part 5 is something new and exciting and like, oh, we've never really seen this before. But with it feels like backsliding, honestly.
Yeah.
I super agree. Yeah, the first 4 episodes or whatever are pretty strong. And it's like, the rest of the episodes haven't been bad. It feels like we've been through it before a little bit. And also, like, for the other 2/3 of the show we have left, like, I feel that's where more of the show's problems start to show up. At least from how I remember it, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks with my memory too. I think beyond just feeling like this is treaded ground, I think the other part of it is, and maybe this is knowing how part 3 played out and knowing just what ended up being important and what's not, is that like the thing that makes it worse is knowing you're having all of these random stand fights against people who don't have much of a personality and don't really matter that much at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that part 5, at least so far, has done weaker than part 3, which is that like part 3 also had a Monster of the Week format that could be very exhausting, that could be a lot. But I remember a lot more of the individual stand users and like their personality and like what they brought to the table, while like each one here is very much like they have interesting designs in the way that all part 5 characters have really interesting designs, but they're all just some form of like, nah, I'm an Italian mobster.
Which one is Sale and which one is Zucchero? I dare you to answer this question.
No.
Zucchero is the guy in the boat. Right?
I think you're right, actually. I do think you're right.
I think so, yeah. That was the thing, like, trying to prep for this, I was so nervous because I was like, I don't remember anyone's names. I need to pull up the wiki because it's like, who the fuck was the boat guy? Who was the mirror guy?
There are a lot of, part 3 stand users that if you asked me, if you just like looked at a list and quizzed me, I couldn't remember. That's fair. There's so many of them. But in 1 year's time, am I going to remember anything about Illuso? He's definitely going to go in that pile too. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah. You're not going to remember Illuso. You're going to remember the brick snake.
Yes.
You're going to remember.
Yes. Yeah.
You're going to remember Abakio getting pulled halfway out of the mirror dimension, so him and his stand smack together and become one. Mm-hmm. Like that's the stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah. I mean, all 6 members of the Bruno Cruno, great. I love them. They're a lot of fun. I wish they got to spend more time together. I mean, I think that's part of why the initial stretch of episodes is so good, is because we have the restaurant scene and everybody chilling on the boat before they get deflated. Those scenes are great. And even in their tense planning scenes in the safe house, while I wish we had more time to just like watch them chill and be bros, there's characterization and interaction there too that is also valuable and a lot of fun to watch. I wish we had more of it even.
Yeah, I think part of the issue, comparing it to like part 3, the way part 3 introduced its main cast and main crew is that like you're introduced to like Joseph or Jotaro, Avdol right at the beginning, right? And then next episode you get Kakyoin, so you get the 3 of them against Kakyoin. And then you get Polnareff, so on and so forth. And here, the problem is you're introduced to them all at one time.
Yes.
And then they do that thing to where it's like Araki's like, okay, well, I need to put them in a solo fight so I can demonstrate what it is their stand does and how it can be effective in like these types of situations, which are great, in terms of letting the characters get a moment to like shine and see what they're about. But it also means that like you get like 8 episodes in a row that are just nothing but like solo fights where the rest of the party is just out of the spotlight and there's barely any like character interaction, which is a shame because that's the interesting stuff in my opinion.
And if it was 4 episodes, if we tightened it up so every fight was fit in 1 episode somehow, it would be so much punchier and quicker. And then you get all the good stuff.
Yeah, because as of now, it doesn't feel like a slog or anything, but it's like you get through the first 12 episodes or whatever, and you're like, man, we just now met all the guys.
Yeah.
Like, the setup is just now out of the way, and we're a third of the way through, basically.
My problem with the pacing isn't that I'm like bored and languishing. It's that now that I've met all the guys, I feel bad that we're 1/3 of the way through. I want more of having met them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was having, read the manga and not knowing, like I was told, like, watch the first 13 episodes, and I was like, I don't know exactly where that ends, so I'm going to be very surprised. And I was, like, somehow surprised at the fact that we did get to Trish, because I was like, I remember just that first part being so long, and I could see that easily being 13 episodes. But also, it was like, really, we're just now doing the mirror fight. Like, this is what we're ending this stretch of episodes on. The episodes, they're not a slog in like a terrible, like I wish I was watching something else way, but it is one where I was finding it very easy to drift off, which is not something I want to be doing while watching JoJo. Like, theoretically the fights are supposed to be the selling point, but it's like you get these fights that are like 2 episodes long to where it's like theoretically interesting stuff's happening right now, but it's very easy to just zone out because it's a lot of just figuring out like, how does the boat work? How does the mirror work? And just standing around waiting for it, and you're just like, I could be playing a game right now, or I could like check my Twitter notifications real quick. And like I come back and they're still talking about the mirror, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
There's something weird about this mirror, you guys.
I just love the idea of while Abacchio is dying 3 separate ways, Giorno's just sitting there and playing with broken glass like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
That's what he decided to do today.
Yeah. I that it was, a good fight resolution. I do love him poisoning himself. And then just being like, yeah, it's fine. I can just automatically heal myself. Like, who cares? It was the best way for something like that to end. But I was also very happy for it to be over when it was done with.
I don't have a problem with any of these fights as fights. Like the way the story told within them, the way that like eventually some of them become a sort of rock, paper, scissors of philosophy. Like
Yeah.
Giorno's commitment to having this intricate plan where Illuso dies, whether he stays in the mirror or pops out, trumps Illuso's incredible, like, dogged determination to apply his will and win at any cost. Whereas, one fight earlier, that's exactly the outlook that saved Narancia against Mr. Shrinky Man, Formaggio.
It's just really one of those where it's like the fight resolutions are cool. I like what they're doing. It is just a lot sometimes, and it's a lot in terms of just the pacing. It's a lot in terms of the explanations. Yeah. And this is one of those where the anime does benefit a little bit, because while the pacing might be worse in a realm where you can't just quickly flip through it. I mean, unless you want to put on like 5 times speed, but no one does that.
God, just like, imagine what it would sound like.
Chaos. But like,
I've got to put in a soundbite of that guy singing. It'll sound like nothing. It'll just sound like birds singing.
Yes. But like the one benefit you do have from the anime version is that because some of these stands are so esoteric, because the fights do get so philosophical and so just arguing over conditioning and how exactly things work, it's a lot easier when you have it in an animated form, so you can just like understand exactly what's going on. Like, what did Giorno just do? What did he just like transform? Versus where it's like you're just in a picture and like, oh, okay, I guess Narancia's big now.
Yeah, there are definitely certain fights that translate a lot better to animation than just static panels. Like, for instance, visualizing the boat being a boat skin wrapped around a different boat makes a lot more sense when it's animated and you see the boat peeling off off the other one.
Yeah.
Whereas I've looked up the panels for that and it's not nearly as clear. Even when Bruno's just going like, there were 2 boats.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I remember reading that for the first time, being like, what do you mean there were 2? Like, was there just a second boat? Like, under the boat? Like, near the boat? Like, was it invisible? How does this work exactly? And actually seeing in the animated form, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. And that's one of those fights that really, really suffers from the manga's just sheer wall of text nature during those moments, because it is just so much to explain that it cannot be visualized. And so you're just going and you're reading it, and like, I don't mind reading, but it's like there is an essay printed on this JoJo page to explain how the boat thing works.
Because that guy deflated a boat and wrapped it around another one perfectly, snugly, to the point where you didn't think there's anything wrong with the boat. Could he just wear a deflated person and be that person?
Would he want to?
Like,
I don't doubt
it's
he
a
could,
nightmare.
but would he want to?
But yeah,
I feel like that's some deviant art shit at that point.
I've invented a new kind of vor. I don't think it counts anymore, but that was where I started from.
It kind of mixes in with the weird balloon people too, so
Yeah.
in a
Look,
way.
it's a new fetish. It's called skin stealing. Everyone's into
Yeah. Oh man, what have I done? Cut this part out.
Nope.
Take it back before anyone gets ideas.
I need the fan art. That's how a show grows, my friend.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think my favorite of the flashbacks is our long time we spend with the assassin team,
Oh my
Yes.
god.
who are very upset at not being better paid. Why don't you just go on crime strike? Why do we have to kill the boss and steal? But my big question from that whole sequence is, How did the newspapers of Italy report on that assassination? What was the headline?
There would be conspiracy theories out the wazoo, right? Of like, how did the gun get in there? Was it planted? Did he actually do it?
Yeah.
I'm a little curious about like why they needed this guy assassinated, like what he was planning to do in the Italian Senate. I've seen what they do in there. It's not work, but but just the idea that you like pay your quarter, unfurl the paper, and there's a car that exploded out of a man, and some guy with like a press badge sticking out the brim of his fedora has to tell me what the fuck that's all about.
Honestly, I feel like news in general would just be wild in the JoJo world. It's like, a street exploded today. No cause. No kerosene, nothing.
They have to send for a reporter from Morio just to have like some experience on how to cover this stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of sending things in from Morio, Koichi's at the start of this.
Yeah, my little man.
While. Yeah, it's so great to see him. He was my favorite part 4 character, so like starting part 5 and having him there was like a nice little safety net as we transitioned into the next one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Continuing the trend that he is Jotaro's favorite, his absolute favorite man in the world.
Yeah. He could have sent Josuke, but like, why would he? Like...
Yeah, Josuke would immediately get up to trouble, and not like the productive type of trouble Koichi got into.
You tripping into success the Koichi way.
Giorno would tell him that he wants to become like the king of the gangsters, and Josuke would be like, yes, that sounds fun. And he just do like shell games down by the train and thinks that makes him mafia, I guess.
Okay, but now I'm imagining like an alternate version of part 5 where Josuke is just part of the gang.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, I'm down, let's do it. Let's go.
This is the day I drink pee. I've already touched a turtle. This is my next thing.
Yeah.
If there's like one thing about part 5 that I do enjoy is that it's got some of the weirdest shit
Absolutely.
in it. Like compared to other JoJo's, like
incredibly absorbent jellyfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lick is the famous one that just immediately people point out of just Bruno licking the sweat off Giorno's face and just being like, this is very weird.
I want to see him do it again. I want Trish to try and like lie to Bruno and him just to lick her and be like, you can't get that by me. No.
I love how that's not even a stand power. Like, it's not even a thing of like, yeah, I can detect people's emotions or thoughts via their like bodily fluids or like DNA or something like that. It's like, no, that's just a thing he does to like unnerve people.
I'm kind of always a fan of the stand users that have an additional non-stand based power because they're just so good at something.
You think that's based on the polygraph test? And how one of the things it measures is like electrical conductivity of the skin as a way to measure perspiration?
Maybe. I mean, my theory is that some corrupt cop did that to Bruno to get him to confess to something at one point in time. And Bruno was too young to know any better. And was just like, this is the method you use. This is how you interrogate.
And that's how he met Abakio.
Going back to Koichi, though, one of the things I think that's really interesting about those first 4 episodes and like Koichi's plotline and how it ties into it, a lot of those first few episodes are spent with the whole thing of like, oh my god, I'm here to track down Dio and Jonathan's son. I need to find him. Oh my god, Giorno is Dio's son. This is a big deal. And if this was like any other anime, manga, show, whatever story, that would be a big deal. Like, that would be a through line of the fact that this character is like the son of the previous like big bad. Here it's just like, once it's like established, it's just like, yeah, he's Dio's son. All right, so the mafia.
Yeah.
I think the big test we need to do to determine to what degree is he Dio's son, to what degree is he Jonathan's son, we need to know his feelings on dogs.
Yeah. He hasn't interacted with one yet,
If dogs are to be protected and cared for, he's a good boy. If dogs are to be kicked or harmed or have their heads chopped off and replaced with a lady's head, he's a bad guy. Those are bad guy things.
Yeah. They do that thing where they're like, yeah, he's an asshole, but he's like a nice asshole. He'll steal money from random tourists, but he'll use it to like buy a kid some ice cream. So like it balances out. No, I do love how he keeps a photo of Dio in his wallet, and yeah, seemingly has no context for it, and it's like the scary photo of Dio too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Maybe it's a power move. Like anytime his stepdad wanted to start shit, he's just like, hey, look at the kind of guy mom used to have. Fuck you. You'll never measure up to this.
You see, I'm just curious as to how that photo even got in their possession to begin with, and my theory is just that like Dio has one night stands and then just hands out his headshot to people as like a souvenir.
That's what he was doing in the moment when Joseph karate chopped the Polaroid.
Yeah,
It was just an accident of
Oh.
timing.
Yeah.
yeah, that explains it. The other thing is that Joseph just brought the Polaroid over to Italy, which probably didn't happen. But who knows what Joseph's doing? He's always doing weird shit.
Yeah.
He bought Sicily. Not a lot of people know this. He just bought it. He bought Sicily.
Honestly, JoJo being the series that it is, like, if they just had, like, a text bubble at some point that was just like, and then the Speedwagon Foundation bought Sicily, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's what Speedwagon would have wanted.
To own Italy, yeah.
He's going to drill for oil until he finds it. It's going to be a while.
The Speedwagon Foundation isn't actually brought up at all in this, is it? Like, this is the one that probably has the least ties to the previous arcs before it. Beyond, like, Koichi showing up in the Dio bloodline thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's connections to the other JoJo's, but Part 5 especially is one where you could go in with basically zero info and be fine. Especially compared to, you know, every other part beforehand where it's like, it's beneficial to know the previous parts, but, like, this one is just like, you don't need to know jack about anything, really.
Yeah. I wonder if that contributed to Part 5's popularity in, like, Japan, because that's something that's, like, I think has always been kind of a bit of a question mark, because it was always way more popular there than it was here, to the point where it's like it was the only other part besides Part 3 to get like a dedicated video game when it came out. And it was a while, like, for a while people were just like, why is it just the translation's just that bad? Like, do we just not understand that this is really good? And it's like, is it just that it works as its own self-contained thing and has 5 hot boys wanting to lead the mafia? Is that just an appealing thing?
It sounds pretty appealing, though, when you put it like that. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot deny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Part 5. It sounds really cool in theory and stuff like that, to where it's like, when you get to the part of the series that we're at, to where it's like, oh, okay, so they're like working for the boss to escort the boss's daughter. And they're also secretly planning to betray the boss, but now they have his daughter, so that complicates things. But they also need to fight other people who want to betray the boss. And so
For
it's
the
like they
wrong
need to be
reasons.
a double agent. It's Miller's Crossing, but in JoJo. And that's very exciting if you put it into a sentence, but then you watch it and you're like, okay, well, this is stand fights again, actually.
The most
Yeah.
exciting thing for me right now at the moment where we've left off is how few members of the crew know that's what they're trying to do, or at least that's what Giorno and Bruno are trying to do.
Yeah.
And what their reaction will be when they find out. I bet Abakio, not a fan. Pretty sure I can call that one.
It's really like a more just an undercurrent that's something each episode focuses on, really. But that is one of the little like angles I do enjoy about the entire group of protagonists, is not all of them are on the same like level of knowledge with each other about what they're actually doing. Especially with Giorno, where he has one over on everybody for just murdering Pulpo. No one knows.
Yeah, no, I just wish it kind of came up in the episodes more, at least so far. And I know that's a side effect of, like I said, everyone kind of having their individual fight scenes, moment to shine, and things like that. But it's one thing to where it's like, it'd be nice if there were more moments to where instead of having a stand fight with like a traitor or something like that, there was a moment where it's like, hey, you were invited to a big mafia dinner or something like that, and you have to get through it without revealing that you're betraying people or being nervous or something like that, or that you killed Pulpo.
And we've already had one JoJo spin-off episode that we watched just a few episodes ago where the entire JoJo battle was just etiquette. So you could just do that, but mafia, honestly. What's the best way to eat spaghetti?
Yeah, there could be like a stand user that lies or like detects lies, you know, to where it's just like, oh, the boss wants you to have dinner with this person. How do you talk to them without revealing exactly what it is you're planning and what you're doing and where your like motivations and loyalties lie? But no, it's a lot
I
of
turned my
fights.
arteries into snakes. And so
There's a steak in my spaghetti. We have to cancel this meeting.
I turned the part of his brain that detects whether something's a lie or truth into a snake.
Oh, man. I mean, there even is the thing, though, of you give a guy too much life energy and they get really confused and, like, have an out-of-body experience. Like, just give him a nice firm handshake and zap his brain until he's dumb for a little bit.
Yeah. That's one of those that doesn't get used again, really. It doesn't. Like, all these fights could be over if Giorno just touches the dude. And it's just like, I need you to feel a lot right now.
Yeah.
Giorno punches someone and they just say everything happens so much.
Their last words are, I can't even.
Oh, shit.
There are, like, a lot of really interesting stand abilities, and there are stand fights and stuff like that. I am a particularly big fan of the, I turned your tooth into a fly so that it would try to return back to you wherever you were hiding.
This elderly man who's actually 14 and a drug addict.
No, wait, what was he, like 12 or something?
Yeah, he was like 12, and
Fuck off.
somebody
The
who
dude
looks
looked
like
like
he's like
me.
36. Just a squat 36-year-old man who was letting him like God.
12-year-olds with
I guess
receding
drugs are-
hairlines out here.
Yeah, this is why we need to get the drugs off the street. They're giving you the drugs that make you turn old.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan's Golden Wind.
M. Night Shyamalan should do JoJo. Not even joking.
Oh man.
All right, so that brings me to some notes I prepared. All right, we've talked about like an American live-action adaptation of JoJo several times, so I decided to do the most accurate possible casting of a live-action Hollywood Golden Wind adaptation.
Okay.
And I figured the best way, the most accurate way to cast these characters is not to match any of their outward appearance in any way, but instead to find the Hollywood name whose birthday is closest to the character's stated fictional birthday. I want age-appropriate casting down to the week at most.
Okay.
Okay.
So Giorno is only 1 day older than Rooney Mara. She will be playing Giorno Giovanna.
She could do it. I believe in her.
And Rooney Mara is going to be running around with Bruno Bucciarati, as played by Zachary Levi. They're 2 days apart. You're picturing it and you're liking it. I can tell.
Maybe.
While Abacchio is going to be played by Randy Orton, coming over from WWE films for his major studio debut. Mista is only 1 day younger than Riz Ahmed, so we have at least one Oscar winner in the cast. That's very exciting.
That's going to get us a lot of investors. There are going to be a lot of people interested.
Although Mista's birthday is also the day of the first successful artificial heart transplant surgery.
Oh.
So I guess we have to give an artificial heart to Riz Ahmed for this to work.
Oh, I thought we were just going to cast the heart in the movie.
And Riz Ahmed is in charge of carrying it. He's not on screen. We don't film him.
The heart is the actor. It's just the actor being carried by Riz Ahmed.
Trish is 4 days older than Dave Franco, the superior Franco.
They have the same haircut.
Yeah.
So.
Now, Narancia in the anime only has his sign given. In the manga, his birthday is May 20th, but in the anime, which is what we're adapting, he's said to be a Leo. So we've got some options here, people born in August of that year. I'm going with either Chris Hemsworth or Greta Gerwig, whoever returns my calls first. While Fugo is, of course, only 6 days older than Giorno, so he will also be played by Rooney Mara in a double role.
Incredible.
I have no issue with this. It's
No.
perfect.
Right here, right now, $2 billion worldwide gross. I'm calling it.
Yeah. Half of that's just me. No, I'm looking at my notes, and, like, there's a lot of stuff of, like, you know, analysis, Giorno's morality, blah, blah, blah. And then there's just one that's like, do you think Leaky Eye Luca called himself that, or was it given to him?
wherever it came from, he accepted it. He took it
accepted
as
it.
his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, fine, you're gonna call me Leaky Eye Luca? Sure, that's my name now. Oh, I also did put the Hitman didn't get proper payment they deserve, and I put a frowny face next to it. Because I was so sad for them. They're not getting... They need... Like you said, they need to unionize. It's really weird. That scene is in the manga, but it's a lot shorter. They don't really talk about the rates that they're being hired for. It's just like, yeah, we're really mad at the boss, and then the boss killed our guy, and now it's like, well, fuck him.
Are those two, was it Gelato and Horchata or whatever? I forget. Are they the first, like, canonically gay JoJo's characters?
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a series that has a lot of romance in any direction, after all, but...
I mean, you're gonna get letters in there like, what about...
what about
Joseph
fucking
and Caesar?
Dio? Like...
Yeah, what about Dio? But no, maybe, like, as far as, like, explicitly confirmed on-screen stuff, and not just, like, people being like, I think Giorno and Bruno should date because Bruno liked Giorno's face.
I mean, yeah, like the coding, the subtext, all through practically every character, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like explicitly stated on screen, I think we have our first gay JoJo's.
Yeah. Speaking of the coding and the appearances, can we talk about the fashion of Part 5?
Oh, please,
Oh, yeah.
always.
JoJo has always had really interesting fashion choices. I think Part 5 is the most where it's clearly obvious that this is not based on clothes people wear. This is based on fashion catalogs and like model runway shoots, because these are not clothes.
Oh, yeah. Way more than any other JoJo part.
I've
Yeah.
got to see Bruno in Mariano's looking over like the oranges. Looking over Narancia. Yeah, okay. His mom is named Apple.
No, all the JoJo Part 5 characters look at the Met Gala and go, what's the big deal? Like, that's fine. I like Fugo's suit with the holes in it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get its purpose, except for fun. It's one of those designs where you see it and you're like, oh, does this tie into like his stand ability at all? Like, does he shoot out spikes or something to where he needs to have the holes in him? It's like, no.
I like to believe they are venting holes for his sudden bursts of anger.
Oh.
Lets him cool down.
I actually think my other theory is that Fugo doesn't actually like feed like through normal food means. He relies on the sun and photosynthesis, so he needs to have as much exposed skin as possible in order to breathe and get air and nourishment and things like that.
They're his stomata.
Yes, the quiet of JoJo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Same poses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a deadly disease following him around.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we on to something here?
Absolute dedication to his crime man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, is this just Diamond Dogs? Is that what the group is?
All we're missing is Fugo shaking his butt at you whenever you look at him for long enough.
Yeah, I gotta see him doing the stretches from inside the chopper.
Well, the thing is, actually, if you
Yeah.
do the man in the mirror fight on a hard mode, you can actually put Fugo in Tio's outfit.
Great.
Fugo's interesting. He's I guess he has a fair bit of development in these first two episodes, but he's very much not as... I feel like both him and Abacchio fill the role of angry one pretty well. And I'm just trying to figure out what exactly, like, what brand of angry are both of them.
Yeah.
Any
Hot,
given
hot
moment.
angry, cold angry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a fan of Cold Angry. Personally, I think Cold Angry is a great character trait. In a character, not in a person. mind you. So I probably prefer Abacchio as a character.
Yeah,
But-
I guess if we're talking about like as people, I think Mista's the only one of these guys I could hang out with. Everybody else is just
Yes.
too much.
Yeah, I could hang out with like Narancia, but it would not be like in a like we're friends sort of way. It would be in the way of like when you're a senior and you're in theater and there's like freshmen who are coming in, they're new to the show, and you're like, yeah, you can hang out with us. You can like, we're gonna go down to like, Burger King or something to get lunch. Like you can come ride in my car, but you're not gonna actually like hang out with them once the show's over, right?
No.
So one of the other things that stuck out to me, because I was surprised by the dub in that these were not the voices I expected for the characters when I was reading. And I did not expect the amount of Italian phrases untranslated to show up.
It's like we're back in part 1 and 2 again.
Thank God, because I missed those days. No, it was very interesting because I was going through the fan translation because I went and read back through the same one just to be like, oh, how's it going? And it's like, they just did not really keep too many Italian terms at all. That just got like completely translated. They kept a lot of like fucks and shit in there though.
Well, yeah. You gotta have your fuck shits. You gotta.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right, with like fan translations and stuff like that, is like, I don't know if that's an accurate translation or not, but you have that thing to where it's like, it says here to put a swear word. So what if I put like fuck down? But no, I thought the dub for the most part was pretty good. I didn't have any real issues with it. I don't think any of the voices felt weird to me. They all sounded like Noctis, which threw me off.
I think one of them is Noctis.
One of them is Noctis. I looked it up because I was like, is one of them Noctis? Is this like... Because it's also, once again, another road trip with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is this what we're doing? Are we channeling Noctis here deliberately for all of them?
When I first started listening to the dub, I was caught off guard by how deep Bruno was.
Yes.
I thought he was going to have a softer voice.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing that got me, was just how deep everyone's voices were. Because...
Sounds normal to me. I don't know.
Well, like, the thing is like, I think under normal circumstances, the thing is that their voices are very, like, the usual voice you'd expect from, like, a, you know, anime boy, edgy teen character, right? The problem is that when you, like, look at the character designs, they don't look like your normal, everyday anime teen character. So I was expecting something like, I don't know, like, maybe, like, higher pitched, more, like, theatrical or something like that.
You're telling me Bruno isn't all about the heart of the cards? Come on. Get in the robot, Narancia. Get in the robot.
No, I mean, that was the thing, to where it was, like, I was thinking about the voices and how I imagined them. I was like, I guess I imagined them less like Noctis and more like 9S, and then I looked it up and I realized 9S is also a voice in this dub.
Yep.
I'm actually surprised it took me that long to figure it out, because usually when I hear him, I'm like, oh, that's 9S, like, immediately. I should use his actual name. I should call him Kyle McCarthy. Yeah, that threw me off. It was a good dub. I liked it. It was, I compared it to the subbed episode that I watched back when it first came on. I was like, yeah, I could watch either one of these and be perfectly fine. That just took some getting used to, was the voices.
One thing that, like, Part 4 developed that I appreciate Golden Wind really running with and expanding on is, like, division, like alienation from one's own stand, like the separation between stand and user. So now we have, like, Fugo, who is terrified of his own stand, which is just a really interesting dynamic that would not have been possible without things like, I don't know, Superfly, for example, or Sex Pistols needing to be babysat and coddled and, like,
yeah,
using positive reinforcement via salami, so they're very good boys.
Yeah. I mean, that's the benefit of the stands of this arc just getting so weird, right? It's because it's like, oh, we've done, like, gun stand. We've done, like, this kills you stand. So it's like, what if we did, like, the bullets in the gun are sentient and they're like the Roger Rabbit gun. And this is what we're doing. And it's like, and I welcome it, because I think that stuff is fun. I love Sex Pistols, just as a stand concept, because it's a fun concept, but it's like the better side effect of the stands of this arc getting so weird.
How long did Mista have Sex Pistols for before he realized he should put them on bullets?
He just had 6 rowdy little guys bugging him.
Yeah. Like, you're tiny and you can't do shit. Like, what do I do with you?
Now,
I want to see all 6 of them sharing one string cheese, just all pulling it in 6 directions at once.
Now, here's a question. Could you use a person shrunk by Little Feet the same way Sex Pistols is used? Like, if you wanted an extra bullet.
I mean, it'd have to be a person who is as, like, fast and as accurate as a stand, right? Like, I don't think a person would have the physical capability to do what Sex Pistols does.
Yeah.
Jotaro could.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to think about, especially when you have stand fights that are so calibrated like this to individual members, right? To where it's like, oh, who is going to be fought in the mirror fight? well, someone who has poison and is going to be dangerous depending on like what zone they're in, right? Okay, so you're gonna put some, like, you have a stand enemy who shrinks people. Well, let's put him up against like Narancia, who has a long range stand ability where the shrinking doesn't necessarily matter as much, and you can still fight well enough. But you get that thing to where it's like interesting to think of how you would swap them, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, could Mista fight little? I want to call him Littlefinger. It's Little Feet.
But what if it'd go a little something like this?
Wow, season 8 of Game of Thrones really was weird.
That coffee cup was my stand.
I don't know. It's just something that sticks in my mind a bit. Especially, I'm kind of curious now that the gang has been introduced. Are the stands going to get less direct, right? Like less like immediately mirroring the other one, more varied fights, more multi-team fights, because I technically know the answer to this, but I don't remember it that well. So I am posing this as a legit question of just, does this happen? Do I get the show that I want by the end of this?
Well, there's a lot more assassins to go, and one of them is a fucking daikon radish with a face. So
Yeah.
Yes.
This JoJo part has a lot of people that just don't look like people.
Yeah.
Polpo's not a people. Polpo is king of the trolls. He's one of the mountain folk.
The occasional weird, like, goblin person design does extend into later parts, but I feel like it's the most in 5, maybe.
Yeah, because I think it's just more prominent amongst all of the characters, and they're more noticeable too when they happen because they are just the biggest fucking changes in the world. Like being the Jabba the Hutt style being that Polpo is. but also, yeah, Radish Man, who's just there. That's not his stand. That's not a thing. He just looks like that. I don't know. Part 5 it's one of those love it or hate it parts I do feel like I hear whenever I talk to people, right? Because I talk to a lot of friends who completely quit watching it. Because I remember when part 6 came out on Netflix, people are like, are you watching JoJo? And I was like, I did watch a few episodes of it just because, like, yeah, I'm curious. I like part 6 a lot. And then I asked them, and they'd be like, no, I got stuck on part 5 and I quit watching. Which, I mean, fair, I guess. These first few episodes do drag to some extent, and I can see someone not being fully on board with it, especially if you don't like the boys.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like the boys. I mean, there's 7 billion people in the world. Not everybody's going to like the boys, but they're such likable boys.
I feel like part 5 more than any other part is the JoJo with like some of the highest highs and also the lowest lows. You're either just like, or you're like, oh yeah, like there's some parts coming up that I think are really great, both like fight wise and in other aspects as well.
Yeah.
But then you'll get through that, and then there's like a stretch of like 2 or 3 episodes where you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. I my memory of part 5 is it having kind of the, once again, kind of mirroring the part 3 structure, to where like part 3 begins really well, and then it has just like that really, really great ending, or like at least engaging ending. And then you just have the middle parts to where you're just like, okay, there's some good episodes and some highlighting moments, but there's also just like, okay, then we do another stand fight, then we do another stand fight, and kind of can get a lot. But part 3 was also 2 24-episode seasons, which definitely killed the pacing, I think, a lot more in that moment. Because like I said, I was happy that we got to this point at the 1/3 mark of the series, because I was like, oh my god, are we still going to be like on the boat by then?
I don't really have anything new to add to it, but man, I still really love the banana murder. Just saying. Love the banana murder.
The way it's established is so good too, because it's just like Giorno's like, wait, what do you mean I killed the stand? You mean he's not dead too? And Koichi's like, no, the user's probably still alive. And then the next moment Giorno's like visiting him, and she's like, here you go, here's a banana.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another drawback of spending so much time making sure like all 4 of these new dudes get time to show what they're about, how their stand works in a fight that showcases them and their past. The fact that Giorno is our first murder JoJo goes so long without any follow-up.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of one of those things where it goes back to the Dio stuff, right? Because I feel like in a different series that would be a big thing of like, oh my god, he has Dio blood, he has murderer's blood. Is this going to be like a big thing? And then just like, no, this is welcome to the Mafia, he just killed a guy. And it's just whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Giorno will kick a puppy, but it's to save him from being hit by a car.
Oh, now he's got some Cars blood in him.
I also love Giorno's deification is apparently like a puberty-like thing,
Yes.
where it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
you reach the proper age and your hair becomes blonde. Did he get more evil then too? Like, who knows? No, it is just wild that the Pulpo stuff, I know we said it, that it just does not come up again, or at least like it does, but like just in the treasure hunt sense, and there's not like a thing of like, we need to track down the killer. It's just like, oh, Popo's dead. Suicide, I guess.
No one's asking no one's asking questions because it's really convenient for everybody.
Yeah.
You get the sense that nobody really liked Pulpo. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they'll figure out a new initiation test. It's fine.
Well, there's also that thing, to where it's like, oh, well, he did the Goldie Rogers thing of, yeah, I'm dying, but I also have money buried in a secret location, and whoever finds it, it's theirs. And
it is like fucking rubies and crowns. And
yeah, hidden in a urinal.
it would be, it would be so easy, but so much lesser a choice if it was like, yeah, bundles of paper cash,
Yeah.
But no.
I was honestly shocked that they got the money. Because I'm like, the 600 million or however many they made it in the anime, I don't remember the exact value. That's like a lot of money. I'm like, there's no way they're going to just give it to these boys, right? Like, there's no way they're going to just start off the series fucking rich as fuck. And no, they just get the money and they're just like, okay, let's turn it in so we can get our mob upgrade.
We got the proper amount of experience points.
Yeah.
We can rank up.
So yes, gold is experience points. This is basic D&D. That's what this is.
Oh, see, I was thinking about it as like, like souls or something like that. Like, they sat down at the bonfire and just leveled up a bit.
Is summoning is an NPC assist basically a stand fight?
Well, I mean, like, in Elden Ring, you get to summon, like, the little ashes and things like that help you out. And those are essentially just stands, yeah, to where it's just like, yeah, here's a jellyfish that follows you into battle, here's a wolf that you can summon, here's you.
Let me solo her is the most powerful of all stands.
Good.
Yeah. Speaking of powerful stands, like, one of the stands that sticks out to me a lot about this part is Sticky Fingers or Zipper Man, Bruno's stand, because that's just such a... It goes into that part 5 category of weird stands that you could technically do a lot with, of just you can make a zipper appear anywhere. What does that mean? Where does it lead to? How does this work? Guide me through it. And it works however you want it to work, basically.
One of the best looking stands, though.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I love looking at that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. Something I've felt about Bruno before is that he's almost really like the secondary protagonist right alongside Giorno, because he gets a lot of screen time, like even more than the other members throughout all of part 5. And also the like kind of simplicity, but the many different ways you can apply the zipper rules to stuff really makes it feel like he has the main JoJo stand, because it feels similar to Crazy Diamond, and it's like, oh, it just fixes stuff. But what can you do with that? A fucking lot. Yeah. You make zippers. What can you do with that? A lot. And it's like sometimes I almost view Bruno as the actual like JoJo of this.
Giorno has the dream, but Bruno has the capability. He has the resources, and he has the love of an entire city. Everybody loves this guy so much.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think kind of contributes to that, is that, previous JoJo's weren't always the, like, go-getter, like, primary, call to action person of the thing, right? There's usually, like, a mentor character that's like, hey, you need to do this, or you're getting involved in this now. But in this case, there's not really a mentor character, but you do have Bruno, who, like, he has the connections, he has the power, he's the one saying, like, hey, we're going here and we're doing this, right? So he's kind of the one driving a lot of the story at this point, even though it's, Giorno's story and like Giorno's ambition and things like that. Bruno is still dominating the plot in a lot of his own ways. I think it's a cool dynamic. I'm happy it's here. It's just very interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's got the goofiest hair of the gang, but it's up there.
It's runway model hair, and I can respect it.
If he took out his little gold hair clippies, it would be awful.
Yeah.
But with the gold hair clippies, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, his stand is one of the ones that benefit a lot from being in an anime because it's a lot easier to imagine the zippers and where they're getting placed and how they're opening up and how they work when you can actually like see the full motion of it and the full scope of what's going on. Now I'm just thinking about the stand bus fight and the weird posing that Giorno does with Gold Experience and just the amount of just touching those two do.
Yeah. Giorno loves his stand, I think. But also, though, a lot of those poses are straight out of fashion magazine covers.
Yeah.
Like, 1-to-1.
Yeah. It very much makes it feel like Giorno's relationship to Gold Experience is not just one of, like, a tool, but it's like he uses it like a dance, almost. Because every move is just so graceful, it's so deliberate, and they're intertwined together throughout a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's a cool feature, but also very funny to see the first time they're like connected by the pelvic area.
Yeah.
You can see that same sort of thing running through a lot of the characters, like the way Narancia uses Aerosmith as a fun toy, essentially.
Yeah. I like Narancia a lot. I think that's a fun character. I loved the way we talked about it a little bit, but just that whole introductory table diner scene I think is pretty fantastic. Just the way that it's like you immediately know, like, yep, this is Narancia. He's very like kind and like sweet, but he's not very smart.
Yes.
And here's Fugo, and he beats the shit out of Narancia. The two character traits you can have in a human being.
His Nendoroid comes with a tiny fork, so you can pose him stabbing the Narancian Nendoroid instead.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is looking at ages and realizing that Abbacchio is 20 years old. And then it's like remembering that Giorno's 15 and it's like, oh my god, there's a fucking 20-year-old hanging out with a 15. Why would anyone do that under normal circumstances?
Yeah.
I mean, that also means that, Abbacchio was on the streets as a cop at, 17 maybe?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because it's like, that's what I was really curious about with the flashback, because I was like, what is this dude's age? Because they're talking about him as if he's like had this long, illustrious cop career. You look the same age as Giorno.
He's 3 days from retirement.
Yeah, you started this week. No, it's the ages of them are really interesting because they are so young, but they're at that stage of youngness where the fact that they're all like a different age from each other feels like it should matter more than it actually does. And I guess, bonding through, crime and gang violence stuff is going to happen. But it is one of those to where it's like, yeah, you have a 15-year-old hanging out with a 20-year-old, 16-year-old, and 19-year-old, and it's like, I'm thinking back to how I was when I was those ages. Like, I was in college, I did not want to hang out with high schoolers. Why would I be doing that?
Yeah, Chip and I didn't talk for a whole year, that 1 year.
Yep. Yeah, it was just radio silence and then hey, I'm in college now too. We could talk again.
I went to college, I immediately cut everyone off. And I was just like, sorry, I don't know you. Don't contact me. I need to see some ID before you send the text message.
We can hang out when you buy me cigarettes. No, I will not smoke them. It's the principle of the thing.
Yeah, well, you can't smoke them. That would be drugs. And we need to stop kids from getting a hold of drugs.
Maybe they would lighten up if they did the drugs. Just try it. Come on. Giorno,
Maybe.
do the drugs. Come on. What's the worst that can happen?
I mean, that's the funny thing. It's like them being like, we need to keep drugs off the street. These mobsters, these mafia men are pushing drugs onto our kids, and it's going to ruin their lives. It's going to cause them a lot of addiction and cause them a lot of strife. Anyway, Giorno, welcome. Here's some wine. Sit down.
We run a lot of gambling around here.
Now, if you want to do a murder, that's fine. We don't care.
As long as it's to, protect your honor and all that. That makes murder okay.
Yeah, look, there's the totally moral thing of hiding a body.
How many dead people are hidden in the zipper zone and are never going to be found?
My question is, the zipper zone, does that lead to the same place that Vanilla Ice's death zone goes to? They're like colored the exact same. They look the same.
So you think Bruno can dive into Zipperland to find Avdol and his magic cyber arms and bring him back
Yes.
finally?
I feel like at this point, every part we're gonna find at least one stand to latch on to say, but could he bring Avdol back to life? We want Avdol back.
Do you think Bruno ever just hangs out in the zipper zone just to like unwind or something? Like that's his man cave.
Yeah. If you put the zipper on their regular table in the restaurant that they're always hanging out in, it's where he's got like a lounge chair, he's got a little radio, some
Oh,
lemonade.
nice.
Yeah, it's actually not a punishment to get trapped in the zipper zone. Like you end up there and Bruno's just like, "Yo, hey, great to have you here. This is safer here. Do you want like I have a mini fridge? Do you want like a brewski?"
The zipper zone is a very temperate 72 degrees at all times.
Finally, a place where I can catch up on my reading.
Yeah. Where are some of the other stands that could be exploited? I mean, like, Bakio's is just security tape. Really convenient ones, but it's very much, like, good for the boat arc. And good for
Yeah.
some other incidents, but it's very much like, I need something for the boat arc. How do I figure out what he was doing? And it's just, he can rewind time with his stand. No, not actually rewind time, just pick a person and then rewind that person.
Mm-hmm.
No, that would
Moody
be...
Blues is so smooth and naked looking compared to every other stand.
Yeah.
It's like a naked dude wearing thigh highs. Like,
Yeah.
Skin slinking. What was the name?
oh no, I don't remember what we called it already. I deleted it from my mind because I didn't like it.
There's just a snake in those memories now.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, everything in part 5 actually just looks like a snake.
A snake that loves to eat bread. Vegan snake, hell yeah.
Oh, I was really upset when I found out you were playing as him in Metal Gear Solid 5.
God, if you had to eat food just like in MGS3, I could have made a vegan snake, huh? What a shame.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Could you be vegan in Metal Gear Solid 3? Probably not, right?
If you ate just mushrooms, I guess. Does that count?
You couldn't use the bees.
No.
Yeah, no.
I guess it's just mushrooms.
That run would be totally trash. You can't even shoot the frogs.
I don't think those are real frogs. You can shoot the frogs. Like the Keratin, you can shoot those.
Yeah, but like you might miss. You want to
You
be...
probably shouldn't do monkey versus snake, though. That seems cruel. I don't think you should do
Yeah.
that.
Well, you don't eat them, so it's fine.
I guess it depends where the monkeys are being sent when you're capturing them.
We gotta protect these monkeys and get them out of the war zone. Yes.
Yeah, you see,
Yes.
that's good. But I'm also worried
Yeah.
because it's been 20 years, we don't know where the Ape Escape monkeys are.
They need to escape again just so we know they're okay.
Yeah.
The next Ape Escape game is just you having to free the monkeys so you can make the next Ape Escape game. In episode 1, someone says, this is how I got to the age thing, where someone's like, looks at Giorno is like, you look like you're in junior high or high school, right? Luca says that to him. Mm-hmm. It threw me off. It threw me the fuck off.
Have you seen junior high kids these days? Come on. They all look like that. Everyone is wearing runway ready fashions.
You go on TikTok, it's just a bunch of middle schoolers dressed up as JoJo characters. I mean, that's not wrong, actually.
Yeah,
Every 12-year-old I know is shredded as hell.
there's just something they're putting in the food. Something in that spaghetti.
Fucking mullet ponytail. Hell yeah.
I mean, I do want to live in the world where people are, like, wearing the Part 5 outfits just on their day-to-day basis.
Up to this point in part 5, we've seen a lot of just the normal citizenry in the background, and they're far more frequently dressed like normal people.
Yeah.
Like they are dressing weird. But
Yeah.
there's just enough of them to make it feel normal.
I don't know where to find Bruno's lace undershirt, but you know what? I could make that work.
Yeah, no, and they all have really nice lipstick, too, which I really appreciate just as a look, always. I think this is where all the JoJo characters start wearing lipstick, because, like, it happened beforehand, right?
Yeah.
But this is where it becomes basically, like, the norm.
It's because at this point, like, Araki's art style changes so that every single like important dude has the fullest lips. Like,
Yes.
they all have that now.
Yeah. You know, it's a good art style. It's an interesting art style, and it's one of those to where you either get used to it or you just don't experience the rest of JoJo because it's just what JoJo looks like now.
Yep.
It's just everyone looks very pretty compared to everyone looking very buff, and it's interesting thing about that how it reflects, I guess, the change in manga and anime characters at the time, and like the heroes trying to like, you know, symbolize and things like that or connect to and things like that. That like we're not in the era of Schwarzenegger anymore or Fist of the North Star and all that, and it's just like, yeah, no, we have twinks.
And we're not running out anytime soon. We got twinks out the wazoo. These twinks are priced to move.
I just think it's funny that, like, whenever you see, every once in a while you get a flashback in a later JoJo part where you see characters from older parts, or, you know, there's just some art Araki does. There's like, well, here's my first time drawing like Jonathan Joestar for the first time in 10 years or something. And they always adhere to the newer art styles where they're a lot thinner and more twinky. It's just like, I just wish it Jonathan Joestar, no matter what, was just the size of the Hulk. Like,
Yeah.
the later JoJo's, yeah, sure, they're a lot more svelte and all that, but Jonathan, he's always huge.
You see, I want him to still be huge, but with the same like twink style face.
Oh God, yeah.
And
it sounds-
4,000 accessories just hanging off of everything.
Yeah. No, that's because Jonathan didn't really like have that much going for his outfit in terms of like fashion, in terms of like pizzazz and things like that, right?
There was his special little man bow tie. When
There was
he
the special man bow tie.
Yeah.
Giorno clearly got his fashion sense from Dio and not from Jonathan.
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
is what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yep.
It sure didn't come from stepdad either. There's only one solution
Yeah.
to this mystery.
Yeah, I guess his mom was also like nightclub party girl, so maybe like she helped to some extent. But no, this is a Dio child through and through.
Yeah, the sign that he's moving away from his demon father is that you can't see as much skin. It's just the chest.
Yeah. Thinking about appearances, though, I think one thing that's really interesting about the flashbacks is that, like, you know, because you're showing them as kids, you're showing them younger, or even just, like, what they were doing in jobs beforehand. They look normal for the most part. Like, it's just like, yeah, here's this, like, basic kid with, like, dark hair who just goes to, like, school and wears the school uniform. And it's, like, 2 years later, grew his hair out and dyed it, like, silver, and now he wears black lipstick and fishnets all the time. And he looks like Sephiroth.
Welcome to Passione. Here's your little badge. Here's your stand. And here's some stuff we found in a dumpster out by Fashion Week. Here you go.
They throw him in one of those, like, Doctor Who closets. And it's just like, you have to pick a look now. This is what you're going to wear every day. And it needs to be iconic or you cannot be in the gang.
Narancia chasing skirts so hard, he got one. And now he wears it all the time.
You know what? Good for that was an interesting thing where for years there was a lot of debate about Narancia's gender.
Yeah.
Because the translation was just not that good. A lot of people didn't read it themselves firsthand, so they just look at Narancia, this character design of this like really small, thin, frail, pretty boy with like shaggy hair and like a skirt, and we're like, yeah, that's a girl. And it would cause like legit arguments over it. I remember this. No, this is just it's just how boys look in JoJo, and we just need to accept that, you know? It is weird to think about just how JoJo has changed in public perception as kind of more of it has come out and stuff like that, right? Now that Part 5 is out in its entirety, dubbed, subbed, officially, you can even go out and buy the manga translated, which took forever. That was unheard of, you know, even kind of back when I was reading it and stuff like that. And I got into it pretty late, like 2016, 2017. Like, they were still finishing up fan translations. There still wasn't an official translation of the Part 4 manga out, and definitely not anything beyond that. So it was just this thing of hearing things from fan translations and secondhand and importing video games when you could and things like that. Now it's just all out there. I think that makes Part 5, I guess, an interesting part to think about fandom-wise. I have to bring it back to fandom because that's what my job is under normal circumstances at any time. How does the fan base see this? How do they look at it? How do they respond to it? And how do they take it in? And some people got into the official translation of Part 5, and it's now, like, one of their favorite parts. It's gotten a lot more popular. I saw, like, a Giorno plush at Spencer's yesterday. that was just there, and there was no other JoJo merch. It was just that. That would have been unheard of. But yeah, no, Part 5 has a lot of defenders now, and hopefully they're not mad at me for saying that I think it's kind of mid.
I haven't read Part 6 or anything, but it's been many years since Part 5 finished, and it was only recently that the first 13 or whatever episodes of Part 6 came out. I started watching that and enjoying it a lot more from the start. After finishing Part 5, I was just like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to be really into JoJo again.
Yeah, no, I like Part 6 a lot. I won't give specifics, but I thought Part 6 was fun, but that's also just, I like that JoJo in there a lot.
Oh yeah.
It was really fun because even though I wasn't watching Part 5 as it was airing, because I was like, I already read the manga and I don't want to renew my Crunchyroll subscription to keep up with it, so I'll just gauge reactions from Twitter. It was just like half of my time was just people being really hyped about it, and half of them were like, I kind of want to give up on Golden Wind, or like I'm kind of not feeling it, and it would just be like that like every week. And it's like, I don't know, it's a fun little examination of just seeing how people react differently to different things. Because I guess I can see why people would really, really love Part 5 and consider it one of their favorites.
No, I'm enjoying, I guess it's weird to say that I'm enjoying every individual piece of it. Just some things in aggregate from like, taking a step back and looking big picture.
Yeah.
I just wish like, I don't know, the levels were balanced differently. Like the ratios seem off. I love every ingredient though.
Yeah. That's what makes it so complicated. And I think that's where kind of the heat of the issue comes from, is just whether or not you vibe with the pacing or just the way that it's all like presented and put together. Because for some people, they don't mind that, or they get really into it. If this was like a week per week thing, this would be brutal to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the frustrations I had because I watched it week to week. In between every 13 episodes, like a 2 or 3 week break with a recap episode. Part 5 had a lot of recap episodes made for it. Yeah, doing it in that format was a lot more frustrating than it is, watching 2 or 3 episodes every weekend.
The recap episodes weren't there to save on budget. They were just there to explain how the stands work some more.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, that's why it's like when it was starting, I was like, I don't want to keep up with this because I remember how Part 5 is. It's like, I think if I try to do this week per week, it is going to, especially subbed, because that's the thing with like, I like watching anime subtitled, but it is like you cannot be doing anything else while you're doing it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is great, cool, fine. This isn't like a Gen Z. I want to look at my phone while I watch a movie sort of thing. But it's just one of those where it's like, yeah, sometimes it's nice to binge anime like while you like play something on your Switch or like just text someone real quick. And having to be alert the entire time that you're watching a Part 5 episode when it's subbed, you have to pay attention. You can't just zone out when stuff gets long or fights take 2 episodes. And that kind of, it killed me with Stardust Crusaders to do it as well. And I was like, if I do this with Part 5, it's going to be awful. So I'll wait until the dub or I'll wait until I can just binge it.
Yeah.
Well, I told myself back in like 2018 when this aired, I was like, if I ever get invited onto a podcast, if Chip and Grant, who don't know me at this point, invite me on a podcast in 4 years, I'll watch it then.
Yeah.
I'll save it for then.
I know a lot of people have said that to themselves, and it's turned out pretty well for them.
Yeah, no, this was definitely how I saw things going in my life. No,
Everybody was the exact same person 4 years ago as they are today, and they had a vision for what they would be doing in, what is this now? June, I think.
Oh yeah,
Of 2022.
Yeah, June 2022. Birthday month for me. So that's fun. I am glad that I went back and watched them though, and like there is a part of me that is.
Excuse me, this is May 30th. How could I possibly get that wrong?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm looking at the calendar now. It says
May 30th.
But no, like I do feel like even though I don't have to watch the rest of JoJo Part 5 if I don't want to, there is that part of me that's like, I kind of want to see to the end for this. Because I get the lucky thing, like, you two are stuck with the rest of this. I can just leave and be done. The moment this call ends, I forget what JoJo is.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's my stand ability. I'm able to forget JoJo whenever I need to.
I mean, I keep threatening to turn this into a Farscape show instead. You want to see something actually weird?
I've
Muppets peeing on each other all the time. Let's go. Let's do it.
I've never seen Farscape. Farscape for me is a show that exists at like I only ever see Farscape stuff at the used DVD store where there's just box sets for like
Yep.
$1, and it's like, do I need to get into this
Yes.
because this is cheap?
Like, what? Okay, all right. Farscape starts as, what if some weird, sick Australian fuck made Star Trek The Next Generation?
Oh, that sounds incredible.
And then it just goes and becomes its own very strange, very wonderful thing as time goes on.
Hi, welcome to Dogs Must Die, a Farscape podcast now. So let me go watch the first 2 episodes.
Do any dogs die in Farscape?
No, there are no dogs in Farscape because,
Okay.
I mean, there
Okay.
might be. Eventually, they find their way back to Earth. Spoiler, I guess. But
Yeah. We'll go back to our original plan then. So, hi, welcome to Dogs Must Die, an Elden Ring podcast about the worst enemy in the game. Yeah, no, I'm gonna watch Farscape. You've convinced me. I'm sold.
I do like a good puppet.
Puppets
A
are
bad
good.
puppet who's a good puppet.
Speaking of puppets, this is this is a question I think is important for all media analysis and all media studies. It's something I think about whenever I start a project, whenever I'm analyzing something, whenever I'm like getting down to theory. And that's that if you had to replace one character in JoJo Part 5 with a puppet,
okay.
who would you choose?
Ooh.
I have an immediate answer, but I want you to go first.
I would replace Sex Pistols with puppet.
It's not much of a change, is it?
I guess not, no, but I just want to see them as puppets.
Yeah. I'd love to see how they would do it, right? With all the motion required. It's like, how do you not see the puppeteers? Like, how do they
Yeah.
get them so small?
Abakio. Puppet Abakio.
I think that would work, yeah.
Just the flashback where he's cradling his dead partner's body, but he's got like those little wiggle arms on sticks, like lifted
Yeah.
up to the heavens, screaming "Why?" Just the idea of a very cold, very mistrustful puppet among all of these boys.
I like that idea. I'm gonna inverse it. I think everyone is puppets except him. In my ideal
Oh my God.
scenario.
If we want to go back to casting a live action Part 5, we do this the Muppet movie way, where all the cast is Muppets except for Bacchio, who is some incredibly well respected actor, like taking the role 100% seriously.
Who was our actor for him again in our film casting?
Ah, yes. Our most accurate possible Hollywood casting of Abakio is Randy Orton.
Okay, but like, actually though, that could work. I think we have to.
I'm imagining Randy Orton interacting with a cast full of Muppets, and I'm liking it.
See,
Yeah?
JoJo's is actually a really easy to Muppet cast because the problem that most things get is they have more than one girl in them. And that's not a problem with most JoJo's parts.
No.
Yeah.
Araki didn't discover who girls were until part 6.
Yep.
Like every time like something like that goes around, like, oh, pick a thing you'd like the Muppets to like adapt. It's like, nobody's saying Little Women. I don't see a lot of Sense and Sensibility up in here. You got too many girls. Muppets can't handle it.
Yeah, no. You think Frank Oz can do that many voices? No. Would the stands also be Muppets? Would they also be puppets, or would they still be animated, or would they be like CG or live action? Or are they people?
I think, I mean, I'd want to do it with them still being like physical filmed objects, but different in a way. Like, I don't know, maybe they're hard puppets instead of soft puppets, or marionettes, so like manipulated from above rather than, stick and arm puppets manipulated from below. Just something to set them apart in their like tangible tactile quality.
Are they stop motion and edited
Yeah.
later?
They could be.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Is like
Yeah.
they're like stop motion. It's actually just the JoJo Figmas inserted into the thing.
Yeah.
No, that was actually one thing. I don't know if that's still the case, but in the height of my JoJo obsession, I was like, okay, let me get some JoJo merch. And this was before it was a lot easier to get JoJo merch. And there was basically, it was like just the Figmas and the really expensive figures and things like that. And I almost got a bunch of Part 5 stuff just because at the time Part 5 was like incredibly cheap. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of them were like, because it was usually like around the $100 or so range for JoJo figures, and it was like, I found a Trish brand new on Amazon for like $20. I was just like, oh,
Damn.
do I need to buy this? She's not my favorite character. I respect the math skirt, but it's like $20. And now, like, I found a Giorno plush, and it was $25.
There you go.
For a plushie. We're gonna animate and put in the actual series.
Looking through my notes, I think I've gone through everything at least.
I did save some insults from the dub.
Ooh.
Like,
okay.
I mainly noted two that stuck out to me, which was sunburnt mafioso and hey dick noodles.
Yeah.
It's my favorite
forgot
Plain
about
White
Hey
Tea
Dick
song.
Noodles. I feel like both part 4 and 5 have really amped up their localized insults and vulgarities in a really funny way.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to beat W Kako. That is a high bar that was set.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think you can really top that.
Again, Emily, thanks for coming on. Before we go, is there anything you want to point people to?
I'll plug myself again. I Emily from the channel Lady Emily. You can look me up on YouTube. I do a lot of media analysis videos and internet culture videos. And if you want another sort of thing like that, I also co-write for the channel Sarah Zed. That's just the letter Z, but it's Canadian, so you say it like Zed. And that's also a bunch of fandom stuff, a bunch of internet analysis, sociology things. It's really fun. I'm at Great Cheshire on Twitter, and come yell at me about my wrong JoJo opinions and pronunciations if you want to.
Thank you very much. We are going to be back, just the two of us, just like old times, talking about episodes 14 through 16 next week. Again, that is Express Train to Florence and The Grateful Dead Parts 1 and 2.
Really looking forward to those ones. Those are good ones.
Wait, I'm getting fired? I'm not being brought back?
Also, we're going to need you to return your pay. There was a bit of a mistake.
Wait, I'm getting paid?
Not anymore.
Yeah, you paid me. You slipped me money under the table to pretend that I know what JoJo is.
And now I'm just like
reeling
reeling it in on my little fishing lure. You, the podcast listener, know everything I'm going to ask you to do, and I really wish you would do it. So let's just save the time and, like, come on, do the thing.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Come on.
Please, pretty please. Thank you.
To be continued.